The fortune of nations has often depended on accidents. Some 20 years after the fall of West Rome, during the 500s decade, Europe's balance of power would begin to shift, and new players would emerge, whose legacy would shape things to come. The 8 major players of the time were the mighty Eastern Roman Empire, whose reign spanned from the Balkans to Egypt, their fearsome rival to the east, the Sassanids. Then there were 6 notable Germanic tribes in the west, the Vandals in Tunis, whose naval expertise went unmatched, the Ostrogoths, who had seized all of Italy, the Visigoths, who ruled Spain and southern Gaul, the Suebi, holding what would become Portugal, the Burgundians, whose fate would soon be determined, and finally the Franks, who had recently conquered northern Gaul. Let us begin with the year 500 AD. The situation in Gaul had become very unstable. Back when West Rome still existed, Gaul had been a battleground between 3 powerful warlords. Euric, the Visigothic king, famous for humiliating the Romans; Gondioc, who carved the Burgundian kingdom; Aegidius, the Roman general who usurped northern Gaul from Rome itself. By the year 500 AD, all these great ambitious men, whose aptitude had retained the balance of power in Gaul, were long gone. Their heirs, however, were less than capable of managing the situation they had been plunged into. Syagrius, son of Aegidius, lost his father's kingdom and life to the traditional allies of the Romans, the Franks, who turned against him. Euric's son Alaric was of a feeble mind, and when Syagrius requested aid against the Franks, Alaric betrayed him, handing Syagrius in chains to the Franks, hoping to appease the ambitious Frankish king Clovis. By all accounts, Alaric was something of a Darius III, while Clovis could be compared to Alexander the Great. Clovis saw Alaric for what he was, a spineless king out of his depth, and repaid the kindness Alaric had provided him by taking advantage of him, seizing the Visigothic stronghold of Nantes. While the 2 kings agreed on a truce, it was clear there was going to be another confrontation. Meanwhile, in Burgundy, King Gondioc had died, and his kingdom had been divided among his 2 sons, Gundobad and Godegisel. The relationship between the brothers had grown weary over the years, after Gundobad allegedly murdered his other 2 brothers. Godegisel, not wanting to meet a similar fate, requested aid from the Franks, while Gundobad enjoyed the endorsement of the Visigoths. Clovis had already wed the Godegisel's niece and was eager to turn Burgundy into his client state. Hence, the Burgundian Civil War would erupt as a Franco-Visigothic proxy conflict. In the spring of 500 AD, Clovis invaded Burgundy from the north. Gundobad was shocked. How could his nephew-in-law do this to him? He had made every effort to appease the Frankish king. Clovis had not only recently defeated Syagrius and humiliated Alaric, but he had also annihilated the Alemanni tribe. Seeing no other way out, Gundobad requested the aid of his brother. They would face the Frankish menace together. The 3 armies met near the Burgundian stronghold of Dijon. When Gundobad's and Clovis's forces clashed, Godegisel's contingent suddenly turned against their Burgundian brethren. From Gundobad's perspective, the fight would have been unfavorable even without his brother's betrayal, but with that move, the battle turned into a hopeless massacre. Yet, Gundobad managed to escape the battlefield and sought refuge in the fortress city of Avignon. The victorious Godegisel moved to Vienne, while his traditional seat had been in Geneva, where he would pay Clovis an annual tribute. However, Clovis himself wasn't done with Gundobad and pursued him to Avignon. Unlike any obstacle before, Avignon proved a formidable stronghold. Not even his siege engine could penetrate the walls of Avignon. Clovis's band of warriors began ravaging the countryside. Gundobad, hiding in his fortress, was still horrified by the Frankish king when he was approached by a Gallo-Roman nobleman. The man's name was Aridius, and he proposed that Gundobad would send him to negotiate with Clovis. The shivering king agreed. Aridius then opened dialogue with Clovis and convinced him that Avignon could not be taken, and that Gundobad would pay Clovis tribute much like his brother. Clovis, having now achieved roughly everything he had set out to do, departed Burgundy, though Gundobad would cause him trouble in years to come. Meanwhile, in Italy, Clovis's brother-in-law, Theodoric the Great, worked hard to win the hearts and minds of the Roman people. After recently defeating warlord Odoacer, he decided to visit the city of Rome itself and held celebratory games there. Theodoric also wanted to ensure a good relationship with the southern Vandals, who had previously fought Odoacer. His sister, Princess Amalafrida, would wed the Vandal king Thrasimund and secure an alliance with the Vandals. However, the alliance was not cheap. The dowry of Amalafrida included some 5,000 soldiers. And that is the most prominent stuff that happened in the year 500 AD. Next time, the Burgundian Civil War will continue in the year 501. The goal is to cover the entire 6th century year by year. Thank you for being one of the 5 people to watch until the end. I realize most of the visuals are rough and strange. They are still experimental, but I strive to improve. If you were even mildly entertained, it would be great if you could help me reach 1,000 subscribers.